Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of a cornucopia of Tales and Tellers. Today is myself and Simona. How are you?
Hello, Alan. Hello, everybody. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. Nice one. So today, what we have is three stories, two stories from Simona and one myself. And as we're teachers and storytellers and just enjoyers of stories, we decided we would learn two or one story in the very recent past for tonight's podcast. Now, we learned these recently, we found them recently, and we want to know what you think of the contents of the stories. So, both of us, Simona and myself, have been taught by great teachers in the past who, if we want feedback on our storytelling, um, what we sometimes do is ask, how did I tell a certain character? Or how did I do this person's voice? Or how did the moral of the story come through? Tonight, we want to focus on the content and only the content. So, Simona, what is your first story that you're going to tell us tonight that we're going to be listening interestingly? That's not a word. We're going to be listening intently to the content of your tale.
So the first story that I'm going to tell you is a story about a little fish that swallows something a little bit too big for him. So this is the story. There was once a little fish who was swimming in the sea when he heard a plop sound. Food, food, thought the fish, and without thinking, the fish swam and swallowed what was in front of him. And then, hmm, strange, thought the fish. And then he kept swimming and swimming, and he felt that there was something heavy in his stomach, something cumbersome and uncomfortable. Well, he kept swimming, but all the time he felt very badly. And suddenly he was with the other fish when a ray of sun pierced the water, and the little fish began to shine. But, said the other fish, you've got something in your belly. You've got something big and shiny in your belly. What? Said the little fish. What shall we do? Well, said the other fish, let's try to get it out. And so they tried squeezing him, but nothing worked. They tried pushing him and pulling him, and they tried putting a little thing inside its mouth, but nothing worked. So they decided to wait until the little fish had to go to the toilet because eventually that would be the only thing that would work. But there was nothing to do. The little fish went to the toilet, but the shiny thing didn't come out. Well, said one of the fish, I've got an idea. I know that there's a scientist living here on the river shore. Let's go to the scientist and let's ask him to solve the problem for us. So the little fish and his friends went to the scientist. Oh, said the scientist, I know exactly what happened here. You, my little friend, you swallowed a ring. A ring? Said the fish. What's a ring? Well, just wait and see, said the scientist. And the scientist prepared a potion and gave the potion to the little fish. And the little fish drank the potion, and the little fish became bigger and bigger and bigger. It came so bigger that plop, it could let the ring out. And then the little fish began shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and it went back to being a little fish. Well, that's a ring, said the little fish. Wow, whose ring is it? And the scientist took the ring and read the name that was inside the ring. I know exactly who this belongs to. It belongs to the fisherman's daughter. Let's go and give it to her." So they went to the fisherman's daughter's house, and the fisherman's daughter was happy to receive her ring back. "Well, I must have lost it while I was fishing. It's too big for my fingers. Thank you very much, but now I've got to go out. I've got to go to the river and fish. Bye." And so the fisherman's daughter went to fish. And the scientist said, "Well, I've got to go on holiday. Goodbye." And the little fish and his friends said, "Well, let's go back home before the fisherman daughters find us." And they went back home, and they were swimming and swimming and swimming, when suddenly the little fish felt that his stomach, his empty stomach, was beginning to rumble. I'm so hungry now. And plop, something fell into the water. Food! thought the little fish, and swallowed the thing that had fallen into the water. And it was big, it was cumbersome, it was uncomfortable to eat. "Oh," said the little fish, "the girl must have dropped the ring again." And this story teaches us that sometimes you go a long way only to end back where you started.
Nice. That was going multiple directions at multiple times. I've never considered a fish going to the bathroom before. What I really loved was the idea of a shoal of fish squeezing another fish. It's just a really funny thought in my head. I could see that one being used quite a lot with young learners, especially in teaching. I was wondering where you were going with the fisherman thing, because it's like, hang on, that's literally dinner for that man. So there were multiple. It's one of those things where you're trying to predict where it's going, and it could have gone many ways. There was even a part of me's like, is this a prequel to Schmeagol finding the One Ring in Lord of the Rings? Maybe he was the scientist. Who knows? Nice one. Nice
Who
one.
knows?
It was I just loved the idea of just a group of fish poking another fish to try and like help him out, and then going to a
And with a
fish.
little fin.
Yeah.
With a
And then
little fin trying to
going
get
to
the
a fish
ring out.
bathroom with a little fish newspaper just to sort of, move things along. Yeah. Nice one. Nice one.
Well, they do in SpongeBob, I guess.
Ah, right,
They
okay.
must. And what story have you got for us, Alan?
So I have a story from nearby, because that's what I like to do. And by nearby, I mean the very Glens of Antrim. So this is the story of Michael and the horse. Fado, Fado. There once was a farmer in the Glens of Antrim who was known far and wide for his generosity and kind heart. His name was Mike, and he was well loved by his neighbours and the animals that roamed the glens. One day, Michael was walking through the Glens of Antrim, and he heard a strange noise. He followed that noise until he came to a small rocky cave that he hadn't seen before. And when he peered inside, he seen a small white horse with a golden mane. The horse, magical as it was, spoke to Michael. "I'm a magical horse from the fairy realm. I've been cursed by the fairy king, and I'm stuck here in this cave. If you can find a way to break the curse and get me out, I'll be forever in your debt." Yet Michael was pretty intrigued by this horse and promised to do his best to help him. He went back to the village and asked around to see if anybody knew of a way to break the curse, but nobody had any answers. He decided eventually to seek the fairy king, if there was some way of helping this horse. So he travelled to the fairy's court and explained the situation. The fairy king was pretty impressed at this stage by Michael's bravery, as not many people would be so keen as to seek out the fairies, to ask for a curse to be removed, and ask the king directly. To put it bluntly, he liked the balls of this guy, so he agreed to help. But He gave Michael three tasks. First, he had to find a four-leaf clover. Second, he had to catch a rainbow. And third was to capture a star from the night sky. Michael set off on this quest, and he didn't have a clue how to go about doing any of these things. First, he needed to find the infamous four-leaf clover. He knew, as all countrymen do, you're best finding them around springtime. St. Patrick's Day, actually, is the easiest of all, as the soft sun and the morning dew reveal the magical four-leaf clover. So Michael rose each morning before the sun in the hope he might find one while walking in the fields. One morning, as the sun was about to rise and the weather hadn't yet decided what it wanted to do for the day, he spotted an Irish hare leap, and just underneath, he found the much sought-after four-leaf clover. Next was his rainbow. This seemed rather difficult, so he had to ask the local Shawnees how to go about it. He had to go to a nearby river with a view of the sky and wait for a light rain. He would pack a small pocket looking glass or a mirror and attempt to catch it in it. He would wait for the rainbow to appear, sneak up gently in case it vanished, hold a mirror up to it, and once he could see the reflection in the small mirror, he would close it fast before it escaped. Lastly, he needed a star from the night sky. So he sought advice of a local druid who had lived long beyond the years of anyone else in the glens to see if they knew of some way they could catch one. He would have to head south, down to the kingdom of Kerry and climb the largest mountain in Ireland, Carrauntoohil, which would get him closer to the sky than anywhere else, and try from there. He would wait until a shooting star came by, and then once he saw it, he would have to catch it with a lasso, just like he would one of his misbehaving animals. He'd have to act as fast as he could, because they can get away quite quickly. So after trekking the length of the island, he headed up Carrauntoohil and waited, and waited, and waited. Not only did he need nightfall, but he also needed a clear night, which, as you know, isn't a common thing in Ireland. Eventually, the sky cleared, and after several nights, he seen a shooting star. He threw out his lasso and caught the star. He brought it down carefully to him, put it in his pocket. He was very pleased with himself, now that his tasks were over. When he returned to the fairy king, the king was astounded. Seriously? You did all those things? Well, you've proven yourself to be a man of great courage, great thinking, and great kindness. As a reward, I'll break the curse on the horse, and you may take him home with you. Michael was overjoyed. He thanked the fairy king and returned to the glens of Antrim with the magical horse and was never seen again. But to this day, it is said the magical horse and Michael can still be seen riding across the glens on a starry, starry night.
Nice, really nice. I really liked it. And I really liked how Mike, like, he was very clever in completing the tasks that the King of the Fairies gave him. And I particularly liked the fact that he used a looking glass or a mirror.
That's how we used to call mirrors, looking glasses. Yeah, I quite like the fact that he went to get closest to the sky. Logic dictates you have to go to the highest mountain in Ireland, so he had to go the whole way to Kerry and back, which is not a bad place to go. It's definitely not a bad place to go. Yeah. It was one of those things where there could be many, many more stories within it, but we'll see. We'll see. I would like,
Otherwise, his lasso wouldn't have been long enough to catch a star, to capture a star.
Plus, we're so far north, we're closer to the sky anyway. Yeah. Yeah. So, Simona, what is your third story? Well, our third, your second story for the night.
So, this story is a story about little robot. So, it's not often that you hear stories about little robots, And not often you hear stories about little robots made of wood.
Little wooden robots.
Little wooden robots,
Okay,
exactly.
cool. So it's Pinocchio, is what you're about to tell.
Um, More or less. Let's
Okay.
hear. Let's see. Let's see if it's similar and if you think that it's similar. I think it's got mm, many elements that may refer to different stories, and let's
Okay.
see if you catch them all. There was once a little robot made of wood. He had been made by a shoemaker in his free time. The shoemaker had put the little robot made of wood in his cellar one night after finishing it, and he had forgotten about it. But one night he had heard someone knocking on the door, and looking around, he had seen the little robot made of wood going towards him with his one wheel of wood. The little robot made of wood had started speaking, and soon he had become a friendly little robot who would help the shoemaker with the village. He would go around the village and bring shoes to the customers and take orders from the customers, and he would help the old shoemaker with his business. But one day, the little robot made of wood went back home to find the shoemaker in tears. Oh, the king gave me an impossible task. He wants me to make glass shoes for his daughter's birthday in 3 days. Well, what's the problem? Said the little robot made of wood. 3 days, it's fine. You can make glass shoes in 1 day, and then I can bring the shoes all the way to the palace. Oh, I don't know, said the shoemaker. I'm sure that if I won't be able to do it, then he'll cut my head. Oh, said the little robot. Let's see. Let's cross that bridge when we come to it. So the robot told the shoemaker to start working, and the shoemaker started working and he made the shoes. And the robot, in only one night and 1 day, had to bring the shoes all the way to the palace. So he started moving with his little wheel, and he moved and moved and moved. And during the night, he came to an old bridge made of stone, where his wooden wheel was moving with difficulties. And he had almost made it to the other side of the bridge when a knight came out. You little robot, you are a spy of the enemies. And the little robot made of wood dropped the shoes made of glass. And the shoes made of glass shattered in hundreds of pieces. And the little robot made of wood, well, he told the knight that those shoes that fell and broke, they were for the princess. They were for the princess's birthday. Now, what can we do? And the knight didn't believe him. But, well, better safe than sorry. What if the little robot made of wood was telling the truth and the king had discovered that he had stopped the little robot made of wood? So he helped him, and together they took all the pieces from the ground and they put them back together with some glue. And where did they find the glue, you may ask? Well, little robots have one advantage. They don't have organs. So the little robot made of wood opened his pocket on his stomach and took out the glue that he always carried with him for emergencies. And together, they put the pieces back together with the glue and they recreated the two shoes made of glass. But there was one piece missing, so they found a pebble from the river and put it in its place. Then, together, they headed to the palace, where they found the king. And the king looked at the shoes and said, "What is this? I ordered the shoemaker to make glass shoes. These shoes, well, they're made of glass, but they're horrible. They're all broken and put back together." "Well," said the little robot made of wood, "why don't we ask the princess to judge? Maybe she liked the shoes." And the princess said, "These shoes are just amazing. They are glass shoes, like traditional shoes, but they are all broken and put back together. I love them. Now I have something unique. And well, I think that now the other girls of the kingdom, seeing me wearing these shoes, will love them. They are so modern, I'll start a new trend." And the king, well, he professed himself incapable of understanding young people and their taste in fashion. But all ended well for the robot and the shoemaker, because their business grew a lot. Because we've got to remember that in the end, you can fix everything, even broken glass shoes.
Nice. No idea where that was going. No, I love the idea of a robot opening its chest and just handing someone glue. I loved your phrase, "in case of emergencies." Because I always have adhesive type emergencies. Easily once a week. I need to glue people back together again. Yeah.
And well, the story doesn't tell us what else was in his little pocket.
True,
So
yeah.
he's got glue.
Yeah.
What else?
Leaves
Maybe
it
a
up to the
sandwich.
imagination. So he's yeah, so I pictured it. I pictured him on. I probably shouldn't have said Pinocchio because then I sort of pictured Pinocchio in my head, and then you said he had a wheel instead of legs, which I quite
Well,
like. Yeah, I quite like the idea that he's just a little wooden wheelie thing with a chest with. Would it be other stationary, or would it or what else would be inside? I like that. It's going to be stationary, I think. If he
no.
has glue, it's going to be stationary.
Yeah. And maybe, as I was saying before, maybe a sandwich for emergencies. Like, you never know when you find yourself lost in the woods, and you need a sandwich, maybe a blanket to
And a
sleep.
bottle of water, yeah, I'd have that. Yeah, maybe a
Exactly.
tin of olives because they don't go off either. Yeah, stuff like that. Stuff like that. Yeah. Well, there you go. There is three stories as told by Simona and myself. So what we're interested to do here is we would appreciate and would like any comments you may have on the content of what we told tonight. So the content of the three tales. What do you think of the stories? Did anything stand out about the stories? What would you fix? What would you change? Is there anything that doesn't sound right there? Or does sound right, the good points, the bad points. We're simply interested in the contents of tonight's stories, and we're going to bring it up in a future podcast again. Now, we did only learn these stories recently, and that's why we're not looking at the how things are told, but we are very keen on the what has been told tonight. So thank you very much, Simona.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you everybody for listening.
Yeah, and Garamira Mahaga, and we shall see you all again. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Bye.